always just that active when defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on.
Just as the big man Ian Wright said there, people deluded, I'm back again. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. Make sure you're cross-following YouTube. Do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the like button. Any opinions in relation to our defeat to Aston Villa, get them in. It's a bit of a therapy session. Word to Curtis Shaw. Make sure you're following him. I can't imagine you're not. Now, it's the morning after the night before. We've had time to digest the result and the performance, and emotions are high, myself included. You know, the Twitter, they tried to get at me at Twitter, boy. Bloody hell, man. You can't even make jokes on that again, people. But anyways, obviously, people, get your thoughts in. But as much as I like providing content for you lot, you know, it's a bit of a two-way street. Again, you lot allow me to just get my thoughts off and feel a lot better. Now, I've tried to remove emotion and look at the result and things like that. And, you know, well, you can't see, but to my screen next to me, obviously, I've tried to articulate all my thoughts, which we're about to read. First things first, you have to be gracious in defeat. Whether you think Aston Villa were better than us or not, which I don't necessarily think they were, but they got the 3 points. Their season is a story to beat Arsenal and Manchester City, two teams that were fighting for the league last season and are spoken about with Liverpool of winning the league now. You know, you have to give them credit. That place, Villa Park, nothing good comes out of Birmingham. Villa Park is a nasty ground to go to. You know, they were 14 games unbeaten at home prior to the game. Now they're 15, which I believe is a record. And you know what? If we had to lose to anyone, if we had to give points to anyone, you know, Emi Martinez and obviously Unai Emery, pick them up. Once a Gooner, always a Gooner. Villa, go and do your thing. Because obviously, if Arsenal don't win a league title or any major trophies, I'd rather Villa do it than City or Liverpool or anything like that, man. But now that I've had time to digest the performance, there's a lot of things that I feel, you know, if I'm honest with you. The first thing I would say is I personally feel watching the game again and looking at it and emotions dying down, I think both teams probably fed into the hype a bit too much of the others. I feel we didn't necessarily start the game with the required intensity. Obviously, Villa popped us for the goal they scored. And, you know, Zinchenko, we know he's not a defender, but collectively as a whole team, we're at 6s and 7s. They've progressed play from their home half towards. You know, if we scored a goal like that, we'd be waffling, goal of the season contender and things like that. So credit to their players and what Emery was trying to do and things like that. I think they set up well off the ball. They played the offside trap well. Obviously, they scored the goal, but I don't think the intensity was there. I don't think the discipline to press in the way we was. I think there was a lot of space. I think we were second best in a lot of our draws and things like that at the start of the game, which again, you know, they played 24 hours after us. That shouldn't really be a thing. I think both teams fed into the hype of each other in that. I wouldn't say we were scared, but based on how we started, I believe maybe we're like, oh, you know what, Villa are a good side. And clearly from they went a goal ahead, how we didn't finish our dinner or get a goal or walk away with a point. Goals win games, goals change games. And unfortunately, you know, we couldn't do that really, but I think they were a bit too respectful. So I would say for me, the buck starts and stops for me anyways, in that we didn't get anything from this game because we didn't put the ball in the back of the net. It's as simple as that, regardless of, and listen, we're definitely going to talk about VAR, but regardless of this VAR stuff and all these things, we should have put the ball in the back of the net. We saw against Luton, you know, we had a pen shout turned down, you know, the Villa game, credit to Villa, but I thought this was football in it, and I know there's contact, but I don't know personally how you can elbow players like Eddie Nketiah with Carlos. Again, I might be reaching, but I've definitely seen a penalty given in the Premier League where Gabriel Jesus is clipped by Douglas Luiz for a lot less. We have been victims of things for a lot less. We're never going to get consistency. Clearly, you know, I don't want to be the boys who cried wolves, and I do think us Arsenal fans were the boys and girls who cry wolves. We always run to the referee and stuff, but man can't lie about this, whether it's PGMOL, whether it's how VAR is being implemented, whether it's showing the angles to the fans, whether it's drawing fucking lines, pardon my language, you know, we're getting zanged. You know, fair enough. If we didn't do enough to win, we didn't. And again, if it was a thing where we played to our maximum and VAR has done us dirty, and I don't think a single one of our players could have given more, could have played more, I'd have a lot more energy. But you know, I do think that overshadows it. You lot know me that follow me on a regular basis. I like to talk about the variables we can control and football. You know, a bit like in Sunday League, whether you're young or old, you're told to expect poor refereeing. you know, with the amount of money in the game and riches in the game and TV rights in the game, do we really think it's by chance of this inconsistency and this and all this stuff that VAR comes with? So I think it is a bit disgraceful, if I'm honest with you. There's a lot of inconsistencies, and it's an absolute joke. It's a farce, really and truly. You know, I personally am starting to believe VAR is only here to troll Mikel Arteta. You know, the man shouldn't even be in the director's box. You can't celebrate, you can't have an opinion. You know, all since this man VAR has been introduced and since this man has become our manager, for all his criticisms, 9 times out of 10, there's been plenty of times across the last couple of seasons Mikel Arteta could have had it out with the VAR. Now, I see other managers saying a whole leap of madness and nothing happens, but there are several times Mikel Arteta has taken the high road and maybe said things in private. Obviously, what led to him really getting charged and the Newcastle stuff, it's like pouring water consistently into a cup. Eventually, it's going to overflow. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. VAR makes me mad. You know, I hope Arsenal are not sending any Christmas cards to them kind of people there. It's ridiculous, but kind of focusing onto the game. My notes, people. I think we weren't pressing together. We're losing the ball on kind of silly. Maybe we're feeding into the Villa hype. Maybe we're a bit fatigued and stuff. But either way, the intensity, especially in the pressing, the intensity initially, it weren't there. You know, the care on the ball, it weren't there. Converting chances throughout the whole game, it was not there really. We're one of the highest goal scoring teams in the last 2 years, including now. Villa were trying their best. That would be the one criticism if I was Unai Emery. They were trying their best to let Arsenal back into that game, and we didn't take our chances. You know, Martin Odegaard, you're a wonderful player, but you should have had a brace this season in that game. You know, Martinelli early doors. I'm a bit more onto Odegaard than Saka and Martinelli because I think Saka and Martinelli's chances come kind of early, but you know, Odegaard should have had a brace. Saka and Martinelli should have bagged. Maybe Kai Havertz with a header. In fact, Kai Havertz's goal should have stood. I'm not here for the VAR stuff. It's either the goal stands. In my opinion, it's either the goal stands or we get a penalty for the Matty Cash thing. If anything, it looks like Matty Cash is handballing, you know. So that's the only real criticism I have of the team. We're not putting the ball in the back of the net. We didn't start well. And I've not really got any criticisms for Mikel Arteta. But I would say in the second half, we know Unai Emery is the man when it comes to substitutes. And when they were bringing in fresh legs, I did think we needed fresh bodies on that field a lot sooner than it happened. Like even... Obviously, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Reece Nelson. So maybe that was a little birthday treat. But you're bringing on Nelson when there's not really anything we can get from the game. There's not any minutes left. You lot let me know as well how it's only 5 minutes was added on time in that game as well. Of course, I'm an Arsenal fan. We're losing. I want us to play all night until we get back in the game. But it's an absolute farce and an absolute joke. Obviously, we missed Tomiyasu in a game like that. You know, Zinchenko, I feel sorry for you because I think you've improved defensively this season. But you've let yourself down at crucial periods. And respectfully, you know, I don't advocate bullying and things like that. But Zinchenko, it's like being in school and Zinchenko just looks like a victim. People are targeting you, especially away from home. We've seen it against Chelsea. We saw it against Brentford to a degree. It was there against Luton. Villa were targeting you and they got changed from that side. You know, he's not a strong 1v1 defender. And I like Zinchenko. I think he's got a lot of qualities and I don't turn my back on him. I think he you know, he's in his own way with that inverted stuff. He's brought something into the system, but you still need to be decent 1v1. If you're never going to be a great 1v1 defender, cool. I expect players for what they are. I don't think the whole team defended well enough, but Zinchenko, you know, he's following men that you don't need to follow. He's not aware of his shoulders. People know you're going to get change out of there. And the one thing I would say with Zinchenko, it's not that I don't want you to be a good defender, but as I said, I believe in judging people for what they are. So if you're not going to be a great defender, when you're doing that inverted stuff, I need to see a madness. And I didn't really see that. And we knew the midfield battle was going to be crucial. Ultimately, in football, it comes down to how good you are in both ends of the field. For that moment, we didn't defend well. Beyond that, what really did Villa have to do? But they done enough. They got the 3 points. They're laughing. Great things continue. But we didn't defend well enough in the 7th minute for what led to that goal. Clearly, in the final third, we weren't efficient or effective or, you know, putting the ball in the back of the net. It's a bit weird now in that we started the season in the midfield and defense. We looked fairly solid. In the final third, we was a bit shaky in terms of chance creation and conversion, regardless of the goal scored. In the last few games, I still think we're decent defensively, but you know, you look at Wolves, you look at, Brentford's not really one, but you look at Wolves, you look at the last couple of games we played in the Premier League, Luton, definitely, we've kind of, our standards defensively have dropped a lot. But as I said, the flip side is, you know, yesterday we didn't convert, but in the last few games, I haven't felt like what I was saying a few weeks ago in chance creation and looking like a team that weren't going to score. So I don't know why that is, but that needs to be addressed really and truly in my humble opinion. And obviously you cannot win them all. But for me, as my notes say, I think it's a thing where I always say it, even when we lost out to the league with City, like they're a great side. No shame in losing a Premier League title to a trophy hunting side like City and what they've done under Pep Guardiola, personally. But I just have this feeling that we're our own biggest enemies. Like we defeat ourselves or we make things harder for ourselves. And I think that is kind of reflected in the Aston Villa game. Because again, it's easy for me to sit here as a fan and say we should have scored in that, but as I said, we're one of the highest scoring teams across the last 2 years, really. And Villa were there for the taking. Like, regardless, we could have stunk up the place, still said all these things we're saying about the start and VAR and all these things, and walked away with at least a point or something. So I think we shot ourselves in the foot in a different way to Villa. And I just feel when you look at our 2 defeats in the Premier League, right? Obviously, they're defeats. And I don't think Villa or Newcastle will care, innit? But for me, it feels a thing where it's like we've shortchanged ourselves. And even that, I'm more vexed with when we've drawn games than when we've lost, because obviously we've lost, but it's frustrating. But it don't really feel like a defeat to Aston Villa, if that makes sense. Newcastle, I'd say more so. It didn't feel like we lost the game. Obviously we did, because we didn't score the goals, but it didn't feel like we lost. If anything, for me, drawing against Fulham in the manner we did, Spurs and Chelsea, it feels more like defeats. But in these games, there's been the good, the bad, the ugly. There's been elements of self-capitulation. And if we want to win a Premier League title, these things need to be eradicated. Liverpool have taken points. Villa are in this. Obviously, we've got Brighton at home next week. We can't win them all, but we're gonna need to get over the line, man. And it's not really a luxury, but kind of tying into the point I said, in that I feel we're our own worst enemies. Like, how often this season, and again, there's been times we've won games and I don't feel we've outplayed the opposition, and I wouldn't give a flying monkeys if they didn't think we played better than them. But how many times have we genuinely been outplayed this season when we've not picked up points? I don't think we was outplayed against Chelsea for the whole 90 minutes. First half, definitely. Spurs, we were more shooting ourselves in the foot. Fulham, we were on nonsense. We got back in the game and then was on nonsense. Newcastle, I don't think we were outplayed. I actually think that was one of our most positive performances of the season. I know it sounds mad, but we was lacking in the final third. Aston Villa, they gave us more than enough opportunity. They were flirting with letting us back in the game. We didn't do it. The only time I would say I truly feel this season we've been outplayed, probably to a degree. In fact, not even Lens away in the champs. I'm probably lying with that. I'd probably say West Ham in the League Cup, because everything went wrong. I do believe Lens, but then I look at it for the Lens game, for about 20 minutes we was there. We gave them an insight back into the game, and then they were on to us really and truly. Not really that there's positives, but I would, and the jury's still out, but I would also say big up Kai Havertz. I think you're starting to look a bit more confident. There's a lot more consistency in your game. Big Gabriel, I think you did well. Ultimately, we lost, but I think Saliba versus Watkins was a good battle, and you want to see your centre halves have a decent performance against some of the most lethal strikers in the Prem. So not that these are positives, but I do think there's that. As I said, I think we lacked intensity from the start. I don't think we stuck to our principles of what we've introduced in the last 2 years of being strong defensively, of being clinical and cutting teams open. I don't think the pressing was there. As I said, the only thing I would criticize with Mikel Arteta, it felt like we needed subs a lot sooner, really and truly, because, Aston Villa are defending the lead. They're bringing on fresh legs. I think that these subs needed to happen a lot sooner. Like, some of you were part of my watch along. I was saying what he did towards the end. I think he took off Zinchenko, and Trossard kind of done the left back thing as we're chasing the game. I think we could have gambled. At that point we're losing already. I think we could have gambled a lot sooner and a lot quicker in that regards, people. As I said, man, the L's this season haven't felt like defeats, but the draws have for me. Zinchenko looks like lunch meat. Of course, we can talk about Tomiyasu and Timber and all these guys. They would have been great, but Zinni needs to get his act together. Or we need to find someone for games like that where Zinni can't play. When the sun's shining at the Emirates, that's Zinni's thing, in it. But when it's the trenches, it's not even like Zinni's playing poor. You're just a target. Like, naturally, we're going to look for weak spots in the other team. You're just a target. And like yesterday, when Zinni's not doing the boss stuff in midfield and he's shaky 1v1, you're in trouble, if I'm completely honest with you. Odegaard, you got to score. You're a beautiful footballer. Like, you're one of my favorite footballers in this team. I'll always back Odegaard, and he's not alone, really and truly, because he missed 2 chances, which I'm not absolving him. He should have bagged. But unless every Arsenal player, the other 10 or whoever came off the bench, could say they gave it their all, they played amazing, there's nothing they could do better, everyone could have done better. Odegaard, find your shooting boots, because you got double figures last year. You're a final third player. Yeah, you do the pressing and you drop deep, but your bread and butter is in and around the area and things like that. And the couple of games prior to this, You know, it looked like Odegaard was coming back into form after, I don't know where he went after the last international break, if I'm honest with you. Gabriel Jesus, you played quality in my opinion, but you know, you was on some ballerina stuff in the second half. I do think you should have had a pen, but you're just on the floor, like it's getting long. Like when we're trailing, and it's not just him, many a player, when we're trailing and it's just a fight, I don't want to see man on the floor. Get the fuck back up, man, please. You know, because certain men are showing why they were vital players for champion Premier League champions winning sides, but why they weren't regulars like that. Martinelli, Martinelli, sorry, a bit of a headless chicken at times, but Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard needed to bag. I do think Villa were good, but they weren't amazing. And whether it's Sky, whether it's the refs, whether it's PGMOL and all these other governing bodies, for me, they lack integrity. They lack integrity in the highest regards. But we're Arsenal Football Club. We're going to be hated. This is why I'm so big on, you know, listen, don't absolve VAR of any of this stuff, really and truly, and all of these zangs. It feels like a running thing now. But this is why I'm so big on the variables we can control: defending well, winning midfield battles, scoring goals. Let's do that, because no one is going to help us. You know, if we're really fighting for this league title, Newcastle are creeping. Aston Villa are laughing. Liverpool, you know, we need to pay whoever they paid for that ref against Crystal Palace, because they're laughing. City, obviously, you know, City have shown they don't mind trailing, because when it's time, they will lead the pack. But they're probably laughing that points have been dropped. And of course, you can't win them all. But, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But just for me, when I've looked back at when we've dropped points, it's just a thing where we could, if we did this or if we did that, we'd have a different result. I don't feel we've been outplayed. Listen, you have to hold your hands up. If you've been outplayed, obviously Aston Villa won, you've got to be gracious. They won, they don't care. But I don't think we've been outplayed in a single Premier League game this season, if I'm honest with you. Like, we weren't outplayed against Newcastle, but we lost. We weren't outplayed against Aston Villa, but we lost. You know, we done enough to get something out of the Fulham game. We shot ourselves in the foot. For 45 minutes, we were missing against Chelsea. But had we have turned up, what would have been said? It was the good, bad, and the ugly with the Spurs game, in that we started well, we scored goals, we needed to score some more, we let ourselves down defensively, and we was moving a bit mad. Football's a 90-minute game. We need to chase that illusion of perfection, if I'm honest with you. And obviously, it's written in the script, really, that you're going to lose to Emre, really. But what more is there to say, man? Like, it's just it just feels like we've robbed ourselves. Listen, my headspace and my thinking, I can't. I'm going to look at you lot's comments now. I'll get your comments in and smash the like button if you haven't. But for me, I can't keep waffling about VAR. It's doing my head in, rightly or wrongly. We're absolutely, you know, we're being gaslit. We're being like, you're doing mad things to us, and then you're telling us we're crazy for looking at this. The inconsistencies are ridiculous. You know, big up Aston Villa, but 100% I'm willing to lay my life down. If Kai Havertz's goal was a Villa player in our goal, in our half of the pitch, that goal is standing, and that same thing is going to happen maybe today or in another Premier League week, and it's going to be a different outlook. I don't know how we didn't get a pen. I don't know how man are allowed to elbow. Even going back to the Luton game, I don't know how we didn't get a pen for Big Gabriel being pulled. It undoubtedly, there's one rule for one and 20 other rules for other people, really and truly. It's absolutely ridiculous. But for me, if I was Arsenal, this makes me want to ask the fans to, you know, this is where we need to be together the most. If you're these players, you know, and the world hates you and it's you against the world, it's a siege mentality thing now. You know, count our blessings, because obviously the season we've had, you are going to lose, you are going to drop points, but 9 times out of 10, we've been ticking over, getting results, doing what we need to do. So there's a certain flooring. But we need to arrest these things. And again, the variables we can control, we need to control them. Score the goals when teams are offering themselves, really and truly. There was too much foreplay. There weren't enough penetration. Defensively, fair enough, football is crazy. We know Aston Villa is rocking. It's a crazy game and whatnot. But that goal, from a Villa perspective, effing fantastic. From Arsenal, we're better than that. We're one of the best teams, allegedly, in defensively in the league. We're better than that. And there was many ports that could have been stopped. Obviously, Zinchenko is the poster boy, and to be honest with you, I do kind of feel at times when you see them results or how it kind of played out indirectly, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, we've signed up for them results there. You know, I love Zinchenko, but sometimes we need just traditional fullbacks. When we've assembled the squad like this, and obviously there's been injuries, we've seen this before, you sign up for these things with Zinchenko. Like I said, I'm not advocating attacking him. Sometimes you need to judge players for what they are. He's never going to be a great 1v1 defender, not to absolve him of any responsibility because he's played there enough times, but you sign up for things like that. You know, I think Big Gabriel had a good game, but indirectly in relation to the setup, Big Gabriel had to do too much. You're having to fight Zinchenko's battles. You're being pulled out wide. Even in the build-up to the goals, Zinchenko is bugging. And don't absolve the attacking players because the pressing was ridiculous. That's how they even got into our half. You know, Gabriel's having to do too much. Saliba, Benjamin White, Declan Rice, no one's looking over shoulders. Again, defending is about the whole, in the same way with attacking, defending is about the whole team. Big up Raya as well. You didn't have too much to do, but everything you had to do, I think you did well. And I'm happy that this whole Raya Ramsdale thing ain't even a debate. You know, if it's not VAR and talking about league title challenges, we are having this sole prop between should it be Aaron Ramsdale, should it be David Raya? So yeah, man, and obviously big up Kai Havertz. So at least you lot can come out with something, but it does leave a sour taste in your mouth. Nothing to do with Aston Villa, but the level of the officiating. Fair enough. I'm an Arsenal fan. I want the variables to fall for me, but I've definitely that Gabriel pen is definitely Gabriel Jesus being kicked by Douglas Luiz. That's definitely being given against Arsenal or another time in the Premier League. I don't know where they got 5 minutes from. I don't know why that goal was disallowed. And there's just probably just a bunch of other BS in the game, if I'm completely honest with you. But as I said, you sign up for certain things with Zinchenko. You know, when you look at our midfield or the lack of subs, you sign up for certain things. You know, obviously our team score goals and goals are shared and things, but we haven't really got a proven goal scorer that can get us out of things. So you sign up for a lack of clinicalness. Like, big up Eddie Nketiah. I'm not scapegoating him. And, you know, there's times he's done well this season. I think he's decent for the squad. But I don't think there was any Arsenal fan that genuinely saw Eddie Nketiah, because we're not playing well as well. Like I said, it's not scapegoating, but I don't think there was genuinely any Arsenal fan that was that thought Eddie Nketiah was going to get something out of it for us. If I'm honest with you, I think Trossard's a great player, but last couple sub appearances, you've been a bit stinky, man. I ain't really seen you, ain't really doing that super sub Trossard stuff he was doing, but we all have to collectively do better, man. As I said, football's decided in both ends. Away from the VAR, in the variables that we can control, we didn't control it, people. It's as simple as that. So can we really complain? I don't know. Arsenal fans need to support the manager and players against PGMOL and referees. Stop being naive. We're not playing on a level playing field. Smaller margins wins games. Amen. There are at least 5 good chances that the team missed. The handball was just the last chance that wasn't given. I hear that, and I always say, have as much energy for those moments. But when you look at it across a 90-minute game or 95 yesterday, them things there are like 1, 2, 3 minute at tops flashpoints. What about the other 80 odd? I don't know. Because I know, listen, football's about coping, whatever helps you sleep at night. But I think we can, you can have energy for dodgy decisions, but also look internally as well, because I do think Arsenal fans, we do have that habit. When VAR has done us dirty, I look back to Brentford last year where, listen, I'm not absolving the refs. The refs need to make the right decisions. And it was offside. So on that basis, we should have won the game or we should have got something out of it. But for the whole majority of the game, can we say we played well enough? The answer is probably no. Brother, you're right now. We didn't take our chances. Don't think they were better than us. They weren't, but this is football. Sometimes you're better than the opposition and you don't win. Sometimes you're terrible and you get a point. Sometimes you don't deserve to lose and you lose. This is football sometimes. And I won't quite say it's been the case across the season, but let's be real. There's been times where across this season where maybe we didn't deserve to win, or maybe the opposition, like even obviously we did enough against Luton, but if life was fair, like Luton deserved the point. So there's times we've obviously done enough and games are crazy and whatnot, but sometimes you get what you deserve or sometimes you don't get what you deserve, which I don't think we deserve to lose. But at the same time, you make your own luck. We didn't put the ball in the back of the net, or when we did, VAR had something to say. Odegaard was scared all game and he does this a lot. I just can't have that as Arsenal captain. If there was a rumor surrounding him leaving next season, I wouldn't be mad. Chill. Big up Wondergaard, man. Obviously, he needs to fix up and stuff. Odegaard's a bad boy footballer. Listen, he's 30. None of that. Odegaard's not leaving and going nowhere. Less of that. There's a lot of people who probably need to leave before Odegaard. He's still 30. He's just a bit soft. We fluffed our chances and VAR didn't help either. Poor referee. We were playing like it's our first rodeo. We were switched off a lot individually. It was visibly clear for me as well. Like, obviously, fine margins. We're talking about fine margins. And obviously, maybe it's energy levels. And Arsenal are in that scenario now where, everyone wants to take off our head top, really and truly. Everybody, not that we've won a league or done anything to shout about, but everyone's going to raise their game for us. Everyone wants to kind of shit on our parade, or everyone wants to see that, Arsenal, one of the best teams in the world, in the league, sorry. Let's see where we're at. People are raising their level. But I don't know why the intensity weren't there. A bit of it might have been fatigue. A bit of that might have just been energy levels. It might just not have been our day. I don't know. But we've got to go out there and arrest that, if I'm completely honest with you. Rice has been fantastic so far, but Phil, he has too much of that West Ham DNA in him, not enough passing through the lines, progressive passing. But this is the thing, we know what Declan Rice is. I've been saying, I think Declan Rice is a better passer than people give him credit for. And this is what I said when he signed for us, in that I'm not expecting him to turn into Xavi or anything, but I want to see it sooner rather than later. But I think next year is when you really get a glimpse into Declan Rice's real qualities or improvement in terms of his final third qualities under Mikel Arteta. Just read between the lines, you know. Declan Rice has played however many times for England, over 200 times for West Ham, won trophies there, played X amount of times in the Premier League since a kid. What you see is his bread and butter. And he says when he spoke to Mikel Arteta, basically everything I thought I knew about midfield's a lie. So think about that logically. If you're going to school, university, secondary school, everything, and then someone gets you in a room and they tell you everything's been a lie, it's going to take a while to relearn. Declan Rice is a piano pusher in England's midfield. You got Bellingham and all them players further. His job is to be a tenacious, ball-winning, box-to-box midfielder. And I still think he's learning. I do think he has that in his locker. Does he do the Thomas Partey thing? No, he's probably more likely to pass. But at the same time, I'm all for improvements. But this is also accepting players for what they are. What I will say with Declan Rice is win, lose, or draw, you effing look like I see you. You don't hide. Not saying anybody. I don't think anyone hid yesterday, but you get the point. You know, I did want a bit more from my midfield, and I've probably thought that in the last 2 away games now, collectively. You know, I think Havertz did all right. I think Rice did okay. You know, I think that was probably the first time Rice and Saliba, you know, kind of dropped their levels because their teammates are not certain. It's been a bad week beyond the obvious in that, you know, finally Saliba and Declan Rice have been booked, essentially. Crystal Palace had a mare with the ref. Crazy. Another thing, this Saka guy needs a new strategy to get a shot off. This cutting in and shooting thing has been clocked. It don't bang the same. Big up my guy Back of the Net podcast. Make sure you're following them. I've come in for therapy watching this. Is definitely good. I don't know if it will help, but Arsenal fans, we need to gather this. Appreciate the low profile as well. Refs are spoiling games. VAR funked. How many points have we lost? It's true. But then again, as much as I've got so much energy for VAR and I agree with everything you lot are saying, in my heart, do I believe that VAR has been the only reason we haven't got these points? Probably not. Like, obviously, even in the Newcastle game, we didn't create enough. And even in the build-up, we've switched off. And even fullback, man, this is what happens when you assemble this squad, because when you need guys for the trenches, Zinchenko's not necessarily that. Obviously, Benjamin White's been quite poor since he's come back from injury, but how fit is he? Really, to have no Timber, Partey, or Tomiyasu, strong defensive kind of minded players in this running is crazy, and it's not going to get any easier. We've got Liverpool, West Ham to come, Liverpool, Brighton. Obviously, the only game where we can kind of sleep easy per se is PSV in the champs, because I don't believe a game is ever a dead rubber or anything like that, but we've already through in it. We have to do better in understanding when refs are not on our sides. The refs were calling every foul for Villa, and we're still here making those silly ones. Newcastle, we are definitely robbed of VAR. Can't read too much into yesterday's results. In my opinion, Villa are a different beast at home this calendar year. Could you have done better? Yes, but we can't pretend that Villa ain't smoky. I agree with that. And it's a nasty place. But I think we fed into the Villa hype a bit too much, a bit like Newcastle away. I don't think we lost those games. Listen, they're both two good sides, but I don't think we lost those games because Aston Villa were cooking us and things. They definitely dealt with City a lot better. We shot ourselves in the foot. Ultimately, they won. Their home form strong. Everybody will drop points. You know, it's just Villa's time to shine. Every dog has their day. Bro, Ruud Gillett is telling Arsenal to look to sign Santi Jimenez rather than going for Ivan Toney. Listen, just get a striker, man. And it is the minor details. The L's will always leave us frustrated. When guys are bottling 50-50s, I don't even want to get onto VAR, Carl. You don't really want it if you're bottling that. I'm not going to lie. I'm seeing people bottle 50-50s. Them things there are not on. And I must admit, I like our players, but I think we need a couple more guys that are like Partey and Declan Rice and Saliba and Gabriel. I'm not even talking with height or anything, but guys that are a bit more rugged. Like, we've got some players that are lit when the sun's shining and it's a football thing, but when it's a bit of a fight and it's trenches and there's high turnovers and you got to win 50-50s and rightly or wrongly got to play to the whistle, boy, I'm not seeing what I need to see from everybody, man. Luton deserved the point, to be honest. Exactly. VAR is a joke, and it's only going to get worse when full AI is introduced into sports. To be fair, can the computers do any wrong than human errors? Because, you know, 1 minute they're drawing lines and they're not drawing lines and they're showing angles. And obviously Sky Sports have a contract with PGMOL. They're not showing us neutral fans every damn angle. Havertz was man of the match. That says it. Always true, but to be fair, like, I'm happy for Havertz because I'm starting to see you in games now. Like I do think the one thing I'll give Havertz since you signed for this club, the pressing off the ball you kind of fitted in, but it needed to stand out. Unless you told me that was Kai Havertz, Champions League winner, German international, 65 million, I wouldn't have known. But I do think you're setting up shop now. You're looking all right. I'm seeing you in games. You're putting a shift in. You're trying to make the difference. But you, unfortunately, a goal was ruled out for you. I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't know if Kai Havertz will ever be the answer. I don't know if he'll ever convince all football fans, well, Arsenal fans, myself included. But if there was a positive, I think Kai stood up tall yesterday, man. And long may it continue because we need everyone. Eddie is decent, isn't decent for Arsenal. He's decent for Hull City. Harsh, man. If we don't make any big signings in Jan, we are finished. I just think we need to, whether you got to do it on loan, whether you got to do it permanently, whether it's development signings or household names, we need to act in the defensive and mid. Pardon me, apologies. We need to act in the defensive and middle third, because I do think we've got injuries. We kind of only have certain amount of players available. Players look a bit fatigued, and it's easy to find us out. Like I'm not even boying Zinchenko. Zinchenko's in that double whammy, in that you're not a great defender, and teams are targeting you. Arsenal are not the biggest and baddest team, but how many weak spots would you say in the team? Like players that you look at and think, they could be got at. Obviously, a lot of our players, if you clamp them, if you try and physically exert yourself, you might get some change. Even though I do think this season we've shown to a degree, maybe not so much yesterday, but we'll you do that to us, we'll kind of give it back. And I like that against Newcastle away on the topic of that. But how many players really? If anything, if Ramsdale or Raya in goal, just on that talking point, you might think let's ask questions of the goalie. Benjamin White sometimes can be slow to react to 1v1 situations, but I wouldn't say Benjamin White necessarily is a player you think, wait, Bailey, go cook him. I don't think he said that. Gabriel and Saliba, you can't victimize them like that. Declan Rice, you can't. One thing I'll give Kai Havertz, he's down for the fight. Odegaard, he'll do his quality thing, but there's not really a weak spot in there. You will try and lock down Saka. Martinelli's decision-making might let him down. Zinchenko's the one you think, you know what? Into that left-hand channel immediately, any opportunity. And even if it's not a that thing, he's gonna run into midfield. And I do think even yesterday, him being inverted was not helping us in that it's really just going down the right. There was a stage in the game, obviously, it looked like Martinelli might be the guy to change our fortunes. But I do think in some games, as much as I'm all for this new age inverted stuff, sometimes I think you just have to keep it basic, really. And Tomiyasu has made the mistakes defensively, and you're always going to cry about the players that aren't involved. But that's why I was on the verge of tears when it came out with Tomiyasu's injury, because I don't think that goal happens against Tomiyasu because they're a bit more switched on. I think he would have followed his man. And even that, from the point of Zinchenko making that mistake and Gabriel having to be pulling out wide, no one really realizes where John McGinn is until it's too late. What annoys me is that we never get them dodgy decisions go for us, like the Haaland pen against City. Rest give the softest fouls against us. But hey, you go back to the City game, Kovacic is allowed to kick people in their shins and their ankles and things. But there's one rule for one, 20 others for others. Saka was predictable. Whole team was predictable, but I agree. Sad to say that the main reason we conceded was Zinny. I love him. He's a very technically gifted player, but him going inside allowed Bailey to drift wide, meaning Rice had to come across to compensate, and that's what gives McGinn the space to score. And that's the thing. When you play with an inverted fullback like Zinchenko, you know he's not good defensively. You're going to give the opposition change, but it's an exchange, really. You know that you might be a bit weaker defensively, but, a form of defense is also attack. If Zinchenko goes into midfield and does that Zinny stuff and we're on song, it's not that it's not a thing, but it isn't a thing. But that was the double whammy. Zinchenko's not switched on defensively. You're running into midfield and you're not really bringing nothing into the table. I think you're very fortunate to come off when you did. Should have come off a lot sooner, sorry. Timber gives us 3 points. There's no doubt in my mind, probably, but it's easy to sit there and say the players that are not fit or not there would have. Because there'll be times we could have went there with Tomiyasu and Timber and the same things could have happened. Martinelli needs to up his game. Jesus would be a better winger than him, and that says a lot. I mean, Jesus bread and butter out wide, isn't it? It's the same for all inverted wingers. Everyone's worked them out. Every inverted winger is going to cut in and shoot. Forget this new age nonsense and play right footers on the right and vice versa. I mean, I just want the best players. If you've got a left footer on the right hand side or a right footer on the left hand side, naturally the angle to cut in, but it comes with the territory, really. Saka isn't going to wake up and one day play like Saka, then Ronaldinho, then Lionel Messi, but it comes with the territory. You think people don't clock what Salah wants to do, what Kane wants to do, what Haaland wants to do, what any of these attackers that we've seen want to do, but they found a way to make it happen. Look at Iron Robin. Obviously Saka's not him, but you know exactly what he wanted to do. There's a reason he was able to pop it off. It comes with the territory. Find solutions. because it's only going to get worse the more and more Saka keeps developing. Villa were lucky. In life, you make your own luck. You make your own luck, really. Even though we lost and we could have done a lot of things better, I don't like how fans are overreacting and doing too much like it's the end of the world. It's football, emotions are high, and people are going to do the most. If you've got Haaland in your FPL team, people like myself, you're stressed because I've just seen it before. David Orsty said he's not there for the Luton test. Santi Jimenez is the real deal for Arsenal. Bring them, man. But I don't think we're signing a striker or a winger anytime soon. I think January has to be about address him centre mid. I still maintain that. In the last few weeks or days, in fact, that's a slight exaggeration, and definitely on the reflection of Zinchenko's performance, probably need to get a defensive body in. And it's easy for me to say, obviously, what you lose with Zinchenko defensively, even though he's been part of the defense, that's done all right. You gain on the ball in it, which is a form of defense. And I understand Zinchenko. Like, I would have started Zinchenko. I thought Zinchenko, if I'm Arteta, like what I said on the watch along, I was there, like, you know what, Zinchenko, you owe it to us to have a good performance. Obviously, it didn't happen. There's obviously the Kirill thing that could have happened. Kirill is definitely an option. Definitely an option at left back in a game like this. But I won't say that he looked like a shambles against Luton, but I hardly think he sat there and made Arteta think, yo, do you know what? Maybe it's time for you to get a run. Can't cry about what you should have. It happened. My issue is we need Arteta to babysit the bench. Exactly. And again, I don't know the form of contact. I think Arteta would have let them know before the game, definitely after the game and at half time. But it does feel like that, really. Like, again, if you was at the game, you probably would have seen Jorginho kind of being a coach and whatnot. So I do think our players generally need to be a bit street smart. The manager should be a reflection. You look at Wenger, you look at Ferguson, you look at Pep Guardiola to a degree. Obviously, these new age managers, I don't think players in general, this day and age, their concentration levels are high necessarily back in the days. But, the Wengers, the Fergusons, the Joses, obviously, they're consistently talking and things. But it's like the players were a lot more street smart and they were aware of situations. And I think the best footballers are the best solution solvers. And I didn't see none of that yesterday. Yesterday was the first time, to a degree. I'm not saying anyone didn't play bad, but when things haven't gone our way or we've looked a bit shaky or we look like we've been struggling, like even the Luton game, where it's a crazy game. We need to get 3 points. I saw everybody in their own way. Zinchenko, Martin Odegaard after he woke up. Everyone wanted to be the difference maker. I don't quite believe this, but yesterday it did kind of feel of the Arsenal of old where it's not that we're passing the buck, but we're looking for a teammate to be the inspiration. And we ain't got the players like that. Listen, Saka, Martinelli, these guys are great, but we ain't got prime Alexis, prime Aubameyang and Henry, these kind of guys that games like this, they can back their 2 half chances and we keep it moving. And oof. Villa, if I'm Emre's probably going to be happy with how they set up, with how they played the offside track, obviously with how they won, with how they built up that goal. I do think their subs, Emre was proactive when he brought on the subs and that brought in fresh legs, which is why I said earlier, the only thing I'd be really critical of Arteta, I'd love to ask him, why didn't subs come on sooner? I don't know who would have come off, but he could have brought a Jorginho on sooner. I thought Trossard could have come off sooner. I think Zini needed to get hooked a lot sooner. But I do think Aston Villa were flirting with getting us back in the game. As I said, I think both teams fed into the hype. I feel for the first 7 minutes, we fed into this Villa hype. It's scary around here, blah, blah, blah. Then we woke up. I think after Villa went ahead, they were like, shit, you know what? Arsenal are going to come back. And they gave us opportunities, but we didn't take them. Bro, listen, big up Unai Emery, but listen, I'm not here for if Emery's a better manager than Arteta because it depends how you look at it. What I will say for me, Arteta, I don't back anyone religiously. I don't know. I really respect how Arteta has, made us positive as Arsenal fans again and all of these sort of things. Whether Arteta is a man that's going to get us a Premier League champ or Champions League or, and things like that, I don't know. And the jury's still out. But I do think he's a much better fit than Emery. Obviously, Emery's won a bunch of trophies. He relishes the underdog status, which clearly, Aston Villa with dark horses for the league in the Premier League are. I do think people look at Unai Emery with rose tints. I think the boys let him down in the Europa League final. But if you remember in the league, we were stinking up the place, man. And he lost the dressing room. So obviously football's reactionary, emotions are high, people are going to waffle. A lot of these people that are doing this about Unai Emery, and I'm not trying to attack Emery or sing the praises of Arteta, but half of them guys wanted Emery out the club. Is the next game Sevilla. PSV on Wednesday. Forgive me if I'm wrong. We will be doing a watch along for such people. I think it's on Tuesday. And then obviously I'm sure we're playing next Sunday against Brighton. I could be wrong, but we are playing Brighton. So yeah, man, Villa gave us chances to get back in the game, but you know, one of the rare times this season that we didn't bring that into the table, didn't take advantage of such. Wasn't even a bad performance. Might even go as far as to say one of our best, just couldn't put the ball in the net. I wouldn't say one of our best, but I wouldn't say it's a bad performance. And you need to look for negatives when everything's positive, in my opinion, to a degree. And you need to look for, not necessarily, but just reasons to improve. And when things are negative, you need to look for some positives. And I would say, you know, obviously beyond the obvious, I don't think we was outclassed. We were outfought in some aspects, but I don't think we was outclassed. And you know, they were way better than us, and they showed this Villa that they are, respectfully to them. I'm not dissing them, so I agree with that. I think Kai Havertz, Big Gabriel, to a degree, Raya. I think you lot can come out with a sense of, you know, some sort of positivity. So I do think there's encouraging signs, but at the end of the day, like if we're trying to fight for a Premier League title, again, we've got to look at the context, but all that matters is the points, bro. You know, you hope Luton can do something against City. Big up Luton, but I expect City to annihilate you. I'll be shocked if it's not 3-4 before half-time, purely because Pep's probably starting to get angry about such. We created 6 clear-cut chances and couldn't finish our dinner. Broski, we didn't, at the end of the day, didn't finish our dinner. Like you said, we did not finish our dinner. It's as simple as that. You know, obviously, I don't know how you define shots and stuff. It was a bit even statistically. We had 12. They had 10 shots. We had 12. They had 3 on target. We had 5. So you could argue, at the end of the day, they were a lot more clinical than us. We dominated possession with 62% to 38. We played 462 passes to 289. Both teams had 3 corners. But whatever Aston Villa had in front of them, 1 goal was enough. They took advantage of it, really and truly. We did not. So yeah, man. What's our gaffer said, anyways, man? He said, I'm very disappointed with the result, especially with the way we played. And he never really says that, you know. He never really, you know, Arteta's a bit sly in the sense of I get the vibe with Arteta that he'll do the PR thing in public, and in private he'll tell the players how he really feels. He never really says that, really. You know, I'm very disappointed with this result, especially with the way we played. I think we deserve much more than what we had. I thought we were the better team. I haven't seen the team do what we did to Villa today since we were here in February. Amen. It wasn't enough to win the game because we lacked the accuracy in the opponent's box to put the ball in the back of the net with the amount of situations that we generated. And I think that's where it starts and stops, manager. True words. Ain't heard a real paragraph from you, Mikel Arteta. On the Douglas Luiz challenge, clear and obvious. That's what I mean. But hey, if we did that, if Saliba did that, boy, or anyone did that, we know that we're losing that game 2-0, or Raya's gonna have to show us if he can save a penalty. On the threshold of the rule, that's my opinion. That's all I can say. Obviously, you know, they're on to Mikel Arteta. It's got to play it a bit cool, be a bit smart. On dominating the game, domination is great, but goals win games. 3 points, it is what it is. We had so many big opportunities. Some of them we didn't even finish when they were completely open. We had to pick the right player to shoot. And when we did it 2 or 3 times, it was an open goal almost, and we didn't manage to score. But there's not much more that we can demand from the team to play every 3 days. Listen, we knew what was going into. If we want to be a team that fights for stuff, we know we're playing every 3 days. So we either need a squad that can cope with it, or the players need to raise their consistency levels, or just maybe be a lot fitter. I don't know. Maybe it's all of it. To play the way they've done, I'm really pleased, but disappointed because in the end, we didn't have the result that we wanted. And I do agree in that, you know, Villa didn't look like the Villa they've looked like in the Prem this season. The same with the Newcastle away games. Fundamentally, we lost. If I could go back in time, I'd rather them dominate, both teams dominate us completely, and we walk away with 3 points. There's extra 6 points on the board. So I do think, you know, we're able to compete and things, but it goes back to what I said. I do think we shoot ourselves in the foot. On taking Martinelli off, it was because we started to attack in a way that wasn't much from his side. We started to rush decisions, play the ball in behind too early. And even that, a couple of times we're playing the ball over the top of their high line, and we're not taking advantage of that. And from the areas where you're going to hurt them, you get exposed afterwards. I think it was enough to get much more than what we had. On fatigue towards the end, a team that is fatigued doesn't play against Aston Villa in the way we have played. I disagree, Gaffer. You know, they're human. They're getting a bit tired. It did feel like, naturally, if you're bringing on fresh legs, like these are professional athletes, fresh legs, and obviously they're preserving their lead. We know Emre is very good setting up off the ball. I do think maybe, if not necessarily physically tired, probably tired in the mind. I do think the subs needed to come on a lot sooner, but it is what it is. With the energy, commitment, and quality that we have done, I don't think that's the case. On watching the game from the stands, it's what it was what it was. I tried to adapt. I think the boys did really well to try to communicate everything that we wanted, and the team had a good performance. On Aston Villa being contenders for the title, anyone that can win a lot of games in a row will be in the hands of each of us to merit to win every single week to be up there, but certainly they are right now. He then said, I think it was a bit windy today. You see a lot of misplayed balls, having the right touch, having the right accuracy in certain passes. I don't know, but for sure I have responsibility. I have to take it. And you could tell, I watched what Arteta said. You could tell he didn't really want to say what he really felt. They're onto him, really and truly. Big up our under 18s for winning 7-1 against Crudo, and hopefully, you know, our women in the WSL get some points today. I think we've seen this already. Oh, no, we haven't actually. He said we weren't involved in the opponent's box and we had to defend 1 or 2 times in our box. And that was one of the reasons why we had some really open situations to put the ball in the back of the net or tried to make a pass where the goal was completely open, but we didn't find it. He then said, I just said to the boys, put your heads up. Hey, man, get your heads up. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Results gone. Get out of our system. Try have a good next week. We can't win them all. We've been on a big high, you know. Every dog has their day. We've been on a big high, winning all these games, dramatic comebacks. You know, other fans hating on us. We've seen our rivals take L's. You know, every dog has their day, and it's our day in it to be humble and hold an L, really and truly. So yeah, he's right. There's a lot of things that we've done really, really well, and it's true. But this is defined in the boxes. And today we didn't have the accuracy that is required at this level to win the game. As I said, I haven't seen a team do that yet here. And we've done that today, but we have to come away with something much more than what we're doing. And true words from the gaffer, like really and truly, what more could the manager say, really and truly? I think Mikel Arteta obviously had comments there. Again, you tell me, obviously this image ain't even doing it well, but you tell me that's not a pen. Don't know why Havertz's goal is ruled out or why we haven't at least got a pen, but you know, the Jesus one was in a pen. Fair enough, man. You wait until it happens to us. Allegedly, AC Milan hope to sign Kyrgios in the January transfer window as Mikel Arteta is open to letting the defender leave the club. Brother, unless 2 defenders are coming into this club, Kyrgios not going nowhere. You need to stay where you are. Ruud Hillett has told us people that we need to try and sign Santiago Jimenez instead of Ivan Toney and Osimhen. Make of that what you will. Apparently, Arsenal have been reportedly handed a boost in their pursuit of transfer target Zubamendi. The Gunners have been tracking the Real Sociedad midfielder ahead of the January transfer window. Football.London understands. As you know, he's got a release clause of 60 million euros, which equates to about 52.3 million quid. Obviously, apparently, we're interested in him. Barcelona are moving away. I'm pretty sure we're not going to move for him in January. I would love for that to be the case, but I think that's a summer thing, if anything. And apparently, Arsenal and Liverpool target Kenan Yildiz is reportedly becoming increasingly frustrated by his lack of game time with Juventus. So maybe that's why he's been linked with Arsenal and a couple of other clubs. But didn't he just join from Bayern Munich? You can't have been an idiot. You know you weren't going to play consistently that much at Juventus initially. But if he is talented, bring him to the carpet. Tuesday, we go again where PSV is concerned. I will be doing a watch along. I'm not sure if Everton Chelsea is on TV, but if it is on TV, we'll still go ahead with the watch along. And I think we're all Newcastle fans for 90 minutes, even though I think, you know, Spurs are due 3 points. Newcastle, I hope there's a reaction. Trippier, I hope there's definitely a reaction. But later today, we'll also be doing a watch along for such as well, people. So make sure you hit the like button, you subscribed and all of that good stuff. And appreciative to you lot tuning in and all your comments. But let's get back in it. We was rushing from the first minute. We nicked the ball a few times high up in their half and created overloads, and we wasted all of them. Based on what we're all saying, so I think it's unanimously agreed that, you know, fuck VAR. We all don't have time for that. But ultimately, you know, away from that, we didn't defend well for that moment. And for a team that can score goals with these quality players, we just couldn't make it happen. Odegaard didn't have his shooting boots on. I would have backed him to score at least one of them on most days. Garrett, blood, trust me. The second one, I was like, no, Odegaard. In fact, tell a lie. The first one was where it was in the box and like he's trying to fashion it. He's trying to fashion the opening. I thought, come on, bro. Like, it's a good save by Emi Martinez, but he's the relieved man. He was there for the taking. On another day, Odegaard, especially because in the last year, you found your shooting boots. You're still my guy, my captain. I've got a lot of time for Odegaard. But this is what I mean by, like, I like the fact that we share our goals out. But there's a lot of unanswered questions based on if you're talking about us winning a title, in a sense of Saka is the only one you know is 100% in August. You're going to bet your life that he's going to get double figures in the league. It wouldn't surprise me. It would surprise me in the sense of if Martinelli and Odegaard do it again. Jesus, lovely player. When it's scoring goals, it's not that thing. Every now and again, on top of that, so we don't really know who's going to score. We're a great defensive side statistically, and I think we've improved in terms of our outlook and stuff. But do we defend to the level of champions? I'm not too sure. And then it's a case of depth. You know, again, there's injuries in midfield. There's injuries at centre half. And if we're looking at a Premier League title, I'm not trying to belittle any of the players. I'm just being honest as a fan because there's very few players apart from Cedric who you probably might even need him now. And to be fair, if I was Cedric, you know, I know Arteta can't see, but based on Zinchenko, if he was actually on the bench, I'd have been warming up right next to Albert, but seeing if I could get some minutes there, if I'm completely honest with you. But there's too many unanswered questions. Like, we got some good players, but I would say guys that whether we win, lose, or draw for 38 games or 25, 30 of them 38 games that I feel are going to play to a high level, I'd say Saliba's there. I'd say Declan Rice is there. I'd say Saka is there. I would say just below that, I'll hail up Gabriel. You know, I think Gabriel's vital to this team. I think Gabriel Jesus will do his thing. I think Odegaard will do his thing. I know he's got a lot of mistakes, but in the key moments, Zinchenko lets himself down. But I think Zinchenko is there. If I'm honest, and there's a couple of other players, Martinelli, there's a couple of other players that you could throw into that really. Partey when fit, Tomiyasu, good squad player, Benjamin White for the bulk of it. But beyond that, there's too many unanswered questions. You know, Trossard, Fabio Vieira, Jorginho, who else is there? Reece Nelson. There's a bunch of players that Eddie Nketiah that 4 or 5 games, they will really play well. You look in August, Fabio Vieira and Eddie. But I don't know if you're going to be 4 or 5 games. You're amazing. Keeping people out the squad that wouldn't be, that would be if Arsenal fans were doing their strongest team. But past that, I'm not sure. There's too many unanswered questions. And I like the development path for Rom. And what I'm saying at this moment in time is only under the or looking through the glasses of if we're trying to win a Prem this season, there's a lot of unanswered questions that need answering. If we won that Villa game, we would have been on a 5-game win streak in the league. Can't win them all, but you're right, man. But it's all shoulda, woulda, coulda now, man. Like, as good as we've been this season in a league that comes down to fine margins. And again, you can't win them all. You will lose some. But it makes me think, had we have held on to the lead against Spurs and Fulham, what would have been said? Had we have turned up in the first half against Chelsea? Had we just have created some chances against Newcastle? Because in the defensive and middle third, we was all right. Had we have converted and at least walked away with a point against Aston Villa? Because I would have taken a point before the game, even though I want 3 points. You know what they say, if you can't win, don't lose. Arsenal is full of crybabies and not enough players who fight for a win in these type of games. Bit harsh. I wouldn't say we've got crybabies. Do I think some of these players are soft? 100%. But there's been several times where I've looked at this team and I think they've reacted to setbacks and things like that. They did it against City. They did it against Chelsea. They've done it even in the nervy Spurs game. They've done it to get the Champions League back on task. You know, I can't say we lacked fight and stuff. Do I think we lost duels and some players are just not strong enough? Yes, but I can't say players were scared yesterday. Newcastle going into that game, one thing was being said of all of us that, physically our players going to crumble. I don't quite think we've got that soft underbelly. Do we have elements of self-capitulation, shooting ourselves in the foot, needing higher consistency levels from certain players? Undoubtedly, but yeah. Unfortunately, Arteta has to have options to Saka and Martinelli, especially when they keep getting chopped and officials not protecting the two. We should not be worried about PGMOL show as it is here to stay. Hopefully, Jan gets a 6 in the defender on loan, both needed. Mentally, we have gotten over the years, but we're still missing big players with very strong mental strength. Rice and Gabriel are 2, but we need 5 to 7 more. Man said Saka was looking for fouls like LeBron James. What sort of team would you go for against PSV? I don't know, because when you lose, it's infectious. You just want to get another one going. I think Arteta will respect the competition. And let's be honest, there's nothing to play for right now in the champs. But there's still a 90-minute game. It's still a Champions League game. You want to win them all, and you want to give the best account of yourselves to the fans that are waking up all over the world to watch the game and those traveling. But if there was a chance to rotate, it probably is in that game, really and truly. I don't expect to see Mikel Arteta make 7 or 8 wholesale changes, but probably getting into that scenario. And the thing is, even if you want to make changes, who can you play? Fullback, who else is playing? You're looking at Cedric, young Waters might start to get a look in. In fact, be a harsh baptism really in the Champions League away from home. But you could him, Kiri or Cedric, there's every logic between that. Have to tread carefully where I would say Gabriel, Saliba, more so Saliba and Benjamin White are concerned because they've been carrying knocks. I guess it's a chance to rest for Kyle Saka and, the Nelsons and these men to get starts. But yeah, man. That's what I would say, if that answers your thing. Big up footy chats. Big up DG in the nation. Hope you're all good. Yesterday just highlighted that we need additions for the squad to help us win the big one. Too many soft ons in this team that ain't got the fight when we come up against top oppositions. I wouldn't even say it's a fight thing, even though I somewhat agree. I think it's just some man, it's just not in your locker. Like, only couple man got that, you know, because there's going to be 5-6 games like that a season. Same way you sign up for 5-6 games that are like the Luton and the Brentford ones. I just think they ain't got it. Like, and you can be squad players and utilize. I just think there's a couple that don't have it. Nwari with 5 goals probably could be given some minutes as a reward. I'd love to see some young players play, man. When I reflect on these last 2 seasons, though, it's been very impressive to see our growth from what we used to be. We get frustrated sometimes, but the standards have become so high at Arsenal. I agree. You know, the last 2 seasons or whatever, since Mikel Arteta's come in, the standards have risen. But at the same time, if the standards have risen, then the expectations have to be higher. And, you know, this club is a sleeping giant, bro. Like, invincible, all of these things. We need to get back to that. And the better we get, the more question marks. As I said, you know, sooner rather than later, you know, fans are going to be on to Arteta about league trophies and things like that. First phase build-up was good. We were able to play through Villa, but our attacking efficiency was too poor. Martinelli was frustrating. His first touch and decision-making was letting him down. As we knew, we ain't got killers in the team. If people want to see bad refereeing, watch it. Don't remind me on them Man United games. Don't remind me, man. Boy, VAR is very useful for match fixing. If you can't beat them, join them. That's what I'm screaming now. You know what? Let's have a parlay, man. Get them down to the Emirates. Get the Hennessy out on ice. Let's have a conversation, man. Let's have a conversation, man. Like, start paying who you need to pay. Conke's got money, man. Generational wealth and that. Like, it might have to be there. You taking Watkins, DG? He wouldn't be my first choice target, but I like him, and I must admit, I've got a newfound respect for him this season. Not necessarily because he's scoring goals, but even yesterday, like, him versus Saliba was a good battle where I think both men did all right. He works the channels well. He does all of these things. I don't think standards have risen, especially from fans are weird. Arsenal fans are weird. You've got them fans that, what they call them thing there, top red and all these things like, we should be winning the league. We should be doing this. We should be doing that. The standards. Like, which they're not wrong, but it's not real. It's not that it's not realistic, but the climate, bro. Like, and then you've got fans that I'm not going to be. I think it's fake positivity where you're finding positives where there's not really none, and then I think you need the balance where there's a lot to be positive about this club. There is a degree of expectation and a level we need to go at, but you know, there's some Arsenal fans that are toxic, that are happy as Larry toxic, and just woe is me sort of thing. You know, everyone's going to be waffling about, you know, Emre, every player is crap. Then, you know, if we go and beat Brighton or go on a next, you know, go on a run, we're amazing. But you know what? Failed the Villa Park test, failed the Newcastle test. Last year at a certain place in Liverpool, we went 2 goals up. We have beaten City this year. Hopefully the footballing gods bless us, innit? That's what I want from these boys. You lot beat Liverpool, I'll forgive you for this performance. If we win against Brighton, then at Anfield, this would be an exceptional first half of the season. Football's a mad game, innit? Football is a mad game. And think about it. We're in December. A week's a long time. Think about what we were saying in August, what the climate was looking like in August, let alone Arsenal, the whole footballing world. Think about where it is now. February is going to be very different. But yeah, Odegaard and Trossard jumping out 50-50s was jarring. It is, but them man are not killies. Like, they're not the tugs. Like, they're not. You lot are the ballers. Like, everyone's got different friendship groups. Like Odegaard and Zinchenko and Trossard. If you went out raving and, you know, some people are trying to bother you, and you get rushed, and them players there don't back you, you're gonna be upset, but they're not got it in them. Now, if you go out with Declan Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, I'm gonna be shameless and throw Saka into that, and they don't back it, you're gonna be vexed because you expect that from them. Some man are just not killies, man. Some guys in our team, I love them all, but your sun is shining sort of guy. And I don't like ducking out 50-50s. But then again, if you genuinely feel you're going to get injured and you duck out, why not? Odegaard is a bailout merchant. Harsh. Odegaard got to be stronger. Honestly, it was a bit of both, not taking those chances and VAR. I think VAR has overshadowed it. It's done us dirty. But I'm more on the camp when we didn't take our chances, because we could have, like I said, we could have won this 2-1. Odegaard alone could have had a brace. Martinelli could have bagged. Saka could have bagged. There's probably a bunch of chances. We could have won. I'm not going to quite say 4-1, but anything from 2 to 4-1, and still been waffling about VAR. Still criticize how maybe we started the game or things we've done, but ran away with the 3 points. I mean, looking forward to the next week. Winning, losing comes with football, innit? So we're going to have to get on with it. essentially. Probably rotate Zinni for Kirill. That's probably where Kirill can get a look in. I think I mean, it's easy for me to say, but had Kirill, I don't think he was bad against Luton, but had he have looked certified against Luton, maybe Kirill could have played his way into the team that started yesterday. But that's all ifs, buts, and these kind of things, man. So it's not really relevant, is it? Essentially, man. But with that being said, though, let me love and leave you lot, people. It's been an hour. I'm going to go get some breakfast, and then I'm going to be live again. If Everton versus Chelsea isn't on TV, then I'm not in the mood to watch Chelsea-Everton on the stream, on a dodgy stream. But we 100% will be watching Newcastle versus Spurs together. 4:15 because it kicks off at 4:30. Obviously, midweek, people, we just have to get back on it now, man. We've got PSV, so join me for a watch along there. Again, it's been a lovely therapy session. You lot for listening, your talking points, everything, man. I can't lie, I feel a lot better, man. I feel a lot more accepting. Like, it is where it is now. Would I love 3 points? I think we all would have, but in life there comes acceptance, man. Hopefully next week is more fruitful for us, if I'm completely honest. But we're just gonna have to accept that result, get on with it now. You know, have dialogue as much as we want until we're blue in the face. Just get on with it, man. So yeah, big up you lot. Appreciate you lot for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, hit the like button. Make sure you do such. Big up you lot on Twitter and Twitch. One love, man.
There's always just that active red flag, defending.
I think